Hello, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I am very excited to be here for this particular production of Waiting for Godot. I'd like to start by you guys introducing yourselves, starting here, and what character you're playing.
My name's Donna Finney, and I play Estragon.
Bart Hansard, and I play Pazzo.
I'm Matt Baum, and I play Lucky.
Daryl Hamilton, I play Vladimir.
Okay. So what is so special about this particular production at this particular time? Anyone? Dale, how about you?
Well, this is the third time that Seven Stages has attempted to do it. And it's a challenge to Don and I, who were in the three productions together, because we get to play the same character over a 20-year period or thereabouts. You know, once you play a Beckett performance, it doesn't leave you, and so it sticks with you the whole time. And so it's important to me to do it personally, because it just fulfills me to try to tackle some of the ideas that Beckett was attempting to articulate on behalf of the culture that he lived in.
Wow. You mentioned challenges. Don, can you name any particular challenges that you've had doing this 3 times?
Well, the language is a challenge right off the bat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very easy to get looped from the first act to the second act. That's very, you can get lost in this play. You have to the concentration level it takes to do this is amazing. It's very, very high.
That's good. So have you noticed anything from the first time to the third time of being in this production that you would say maybe an idea that you hadn't thought of before, or just something new that you didn't get the first time around, and your understanding of the show?
Well, the nature of suffering is something that hits me this time that I don't even remember thinking about it in the first 2 shows. So what is it that causes people to suffer, and how do they manage it is of interest to me, and I think it's of interest in the culture as well. Not just because we have politicians that cause us to suffer, but I'm talking about what's inside of us spiritually that causes us to question existence, why we're here, what we're doing, what we're going to do, how we help others. And so, although this play doesn't specifically take those themes up and make like a little musical note of it, it's still there underneath it all, and so it's a challenge to play that and think about it.
Matt, how did you get started in theater?
I guess way back when I was 7, I learned to juggle, and then
You were doomed from there.
that's right. Right, and then in college I got into theater, and was hooked.
Okay. So what are some of your theatrical highlights that stick out in your mind or in your heart?
Lyle the Crocodile at Synchronicity was a really enjoyable role for me, because the character was didn't have anything to say, no lines, and so there was a lot of clowning and bodily antics. So I think that's one of the ones that stuck out. Other ones.
So many at one time, huh?
Well,
No, seriously, because it can be an issue where you've enjoyed so much of your career that, you know, it's all pretty high
Tell all
in
about
there.
the pornography that you've done.
That's right.
Oh, let's not.
The Lederhosen series.
The Lederhosen series. Okay, Bart, where are you from originally?
I'm a born native of Atlanta, Piedmont
Wonderful.
Hospital. Yeah.
Piedmont Hospital.
Born and raised, born and reared here in Atlanta.
Awesome.
And I've left to go to graduate school, and I've left for a couple other reasons, but I always came come back
Okay.
home.
And where did you start in theater?
I started doing shows in high school, and then from there, undergrad, I knew that actors didn't make any money, so I was going to try and do something else, but I got kind of dragged back into it and just
Gotcha.
haven't turned back. So, and have a graduate degree from Wayne State University, the Hillberry Repertory Theater, so I have an MFA, which that and what is it now, $5 and something will get you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something that's been a constant in my life, and there's times when in fact, without going into too much detail, if any detail at all, my life's in like sort of a chaotic state right now, so to be doing an existential play with a crisis in it like this and have that sort of going on, the absurdity of life is really kind of washing up on the shores. I think I brought some of it with me into the rehearsal hall,
Oh,
which
wow.
I didn't mean to do,
But he did.
but I did. Yeah. So it's very interesting. Theater has a tendency to sort of filter and help clarify
Yeah.
and sort of make sense of, because we play these characters. In fact, Camus said one of the things you could do against the severity or the unfeelingness of the universe is to become an actor. And so this play kind of takes that on and sort of spins it even some more, that we're sort of dealing with all these meta themes and things. So yeah.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that because
Sure,
I'm going to
absolutely.
explore that a little bit. Don, where are you from originally, and how did you get started in theater?
I am originally from Nashville, Tennessee. I started acting in elementary school. And then I didn't act for the longest time, but I knew when I was young I wanted to be an actor. And then I didn't act. We didn't have an acting program in junior high or high school, so I didn't act again until college. But as soon as I went to college, I knew. I was a theater major, and boom.
Wow.
I've never stopped.
Where did you attend college?
I went to Georgia Southern the first year and then transferred to University of Georgia.
Okay, wonderful.
Go dog.
Good.
And then I dropped out.
Oh, you dropped out. Matt, I didn't ask you where you were from and how you got, well, I did ask you how you got started, but where are you from originally?
Philadelphia area.
Okay, Philadelphia. What brought you to Atlanta?
My wife, she got a full ride to Columbia Theological Seminary.
Oh, well, that's not too shabby. That's pretty amazing. So the basis of this show is, I've heard it described as very sad and very funny. I've heard it described as that way. How would you describe it, the overall feel of the show?
It's sad and funny.
It's sad and funny, but I think there's some hope there too.
Okay.
He doesn't, I do.
I think it's a lot more than sad and funny. I think that's pretty reductive. I think there's so many different colors that hopefully that's what prevents people from falling asleep and asks them to engage with the uncertainties of their life.
Right.
And how they may be, what's their sort of Godot that they're waiting, what's their conditional thing that once they get that, then they can really proceed. I think it hopefully sparks, at least for me, I'll be sitting in traffic and thinking about, oh, like the red light, the green light is my Godot now, and then I can go. I mean, not that literally, but kind of, what could I do now that isn't just waiting? Even though, of course, sometimes in life there is lots of stretches of waiting, but it doesn't mean it needs to be oppressive.
Right.
I mean, you can sort of frame it how you like.
You know, you play Lucky. How do you prepare for that role? What is there anything that comes from you to prepare for that role?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, I don't know, though. What I think part of the greatness of this play is that it's so mysterious and that no single interpretation is final, that there are, multiplicity of interpretations and people can take from it what they need. I think that's really beautiful, and that we're not trying to ram, it's this is the only way, a single thing, but it's, here's what this is, and we don't know all of what it means, but we're trying to bring as much to it as we can.
Right.
Yeah, like for instance, our relationship, the way that Pazzo treats Lucky, in some cases it can be seen as cruelty. Someone else sitting next to the same person can see it as like dark comedy. You know, it literally is up to your own interpretation of how you view
Right.
what life is and how life is affecting you.
Right. So I'd like to ask each of you that question. What from your experience has been brought into your character?
Well, for me, it's the play seems to be about the idea that we all are waiting for something, and so what do you do while you're waiting is the question. And is it passive waiting, where you just wait for things to happen to you? Or is it active waiting, where you're trying to cause things to happen or to understand them or something like that? And so, to me, that's kind of what Beckett was writing about to the actors as a secret kind of note, and for the audience as well. And so, you know, like in life, for example, you can be bored from time to time. A lot of people get really nervous and freaked out when they experience boredom, but it's a part of life. And therefore, it's a part of theater, and therefore, the playwright writes about it in the theater, frankly. And says at one point, even, we're bored to death. He can't deny it, talking right to the audience. And so, how do you deal with your boredom is an interesting question for me, and it's, I embrace it.
How do you deal with your boredom in real life?
I read Beckett. Yeah, no, I like in the play, there are all kinds of ways of dealing with that, and so now I live in Portland, Oregon, and not in Atlanta, Georgia, and so
Yeah,
that keeps me alive and vital.
that's good. What other plays from Beckett do you enjoy? And is there a particular theme that runs through Beckett's writing?
I wouldn't say I enjoy any other plays of Beckett, but Texts for Nothing is probably it's a book of, I guess, fiction. And at one point, Heidi and I turned that into a performance, and so I got to learn too many of Beckett's words that way. And I've been in a few other Beckett plays and directed some too. So, but for me, this is the heart and soul of Beckett. I can't imagine anything I would say is greater.
I understand.
There's something about this play that people keep, you can Google this play, right? And you start getting like all sorts of ideologies, all sorts of philosophies, all sorts of interpretations. You can have it from Vladimir's point of view, from Estragon's point of view. This thing's been, and you even edified me to the fact that there's an opera based on this. So there's so many things going on, and the fact that this is such a touchstone for people that they keep coming back to it. My experience has been recently, when people have found out I'm doing the show, they're either extremely excited, and they've got their tickets now and everything, or they're like, you know, they have some kind of, but I think the people that are sighing heavily have some fear of exploration of themselves. I think it's not hatred as much as it's fear of being bored, fear of the unknown, fear of these things that we can't control.
So,
You know, there was a famous performance of this done during the war in Sarajevo, and the faculty at the Theater Academy left when the war started. They took the tunnel out of the city and got out. And the students, therefore, who were stuck, surrounded, and being bombed and shot at every day, would go to the Theater Academy and continue their theater training. And they eventually did a performance of Waiting for Godot as part of it. And their idea was that they were waiting for the war to end, which they interpreted to mean they were waiting for the adults to regain their sanity. And so they did the first act of the play, but not the second act, because they didn't feel they were capable of doing it all. To me, that's an inspiring story.
wow. Hey, Don, you mentioned that some of the language was difficult. Is there any particular part that you were hung up on? And if this is,
there's many.
there's many.
There's many.
Give me an example.
I mean, you know, just sometimes a line will come out of nowhere. You know, you'll be talking about one thing and then boom. And so you tend to blank out a lot. You really have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the things that's helping me in this production is, Dell and I have done this is our third time doing it together. And I think that this time we're more, well, we've had a 30-year relationship with the play. We've known each other for 30 years, so we have all that to bring to the play, but I think we're really more personable to each other on stage, talking to each other, listening is better than it's ever been. And so I think for me, I think it makes the play funnier. I also think it makes it more accessible to the audience, or hopefully.
Now, Matt and Bart, now these guys have done this many times. Have you ever done the show before?
No.
You haven't. So how do you feel coming with these people who have, who have it down?
Overwhelmed. I've known Don
Yes.
for a very long time, and I've worked here once before in a show, Broken Glass, with Don, and it was a very interesting and amazing experience. And I'm usually more of a commercial actor. By that I mean I'm usually doing more kind of Christmas Carol, more like commercial fare.
Right.
And so this is art, and there's a difference, and
Yes.
There's art and entertainment, and there's entertainment in this, but it's very, very heady. And I also have I've been teaching at a small college up in North Georgia, and have sort of drifted away from my day-to-day doing shows and things. And so, and having worked in educational theater, it's a very different sort of level you expect the students to be at than where I'm expected to be at now. So this has been extremely challenging.
Wow.
And then, like I said, the other kind of weirdness that's kind of rolled over into my life has definitely infected this. I think sometimes to a good point, it's bringing some, we're talking about suffering things earlier, it's bringing some very interesting elements out of it. I'm seeing glimpses of what I need to be doing. There are times when it's right there, and then like Don said, if you just lose your concentration, it just collapses. It's like trying to keep a soap bubble floating in the air, and if you just blow too much, it's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very delicate balance, I assume.
Yeah, but it's been interesting because they've had a different Lucky and Pazzo for every show.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting because, in a way, philosophically, they're always waiting, and the idea that these characters keep coming, and they're different characters over 30 years, and then we in the second act like we don't know who they are. There's always this weird I didn't meet you yesterday. I don't know who you are. So I find that to be very kind of charming in a strange way that they always get a different Lucky and Pazzo. Yeah.
How about you, Matt? How do you feel with coming with the veterans of the play?
I feel very fortunate that they've trod through this as much as they have, and that it's sunken into their beings. And grateful.
Awesome.
Gratitude, yeah, absolutely. Gratitude to be here.
Yeah.
I feel very grateful
You can tell.
being able to do this show.
You can tell.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because,
I love this. I could play this part the rest of my life. I really like this guy. I don't know why I like doing this play, but I love it.
Right.
Because it's a bitch of a play.
I hope one day to grow up and be able to play Lucky.
That's what I was going
To
to
me,
ask.
that's one of the
That was
amazing
never.
parts of
Really?
theater.
I
Absolutely.
would like to play Pazzo.
That was my next question: is if you
trade.
could switch, who would you play?
Yeah, I definitely want to play Lucky. I never want to play Estragon.
I'll play
What would you
Pazzo.
do differently than what I'm doing?
Oh, nothing. I would hope to stand on your shoulders if that's possible.
Wonderful.
Really? Yeah. All right. Well, maybe a night I'll play Vladimir and you can play Lucky.
Okay.
You would be the good. That's what the part of it.
We'll need a teleprompter for me, though, however.
Yes,
Teleprompter.
please for me as well.
Like Sybil Shepherd.
Bart, you were awfully quiet with that question. Is there a particular part that you would play if you could switch?
I love Pazzo. I think this is the role I'm supposed to be playing, at this point in time. And I consider myself a utility player. And so Pazzo's the ultimate kind of sideshow Barker character. I mean, John Goodman has played him, and I've been, for, again, like commercial work, if I walk in, like, oh, you look like a John Goodman or John Candy. And they'll, if they can tie some kind of thing onto you really quickly, because 10 seconds, 20 seconds in a commercial, they want to just have a warm fuzzy. So there's part of that too. I feel like I'm following a long line of, fat, chatty actors to play.
I didn't know that John Goodman had played this role. Are there any other people, actors that you followed, maybe looked at, or have seen that influenced how you play this role?
Not influenced.
No.
Yeah.
Or anyone, well, I
Well,
don't.
Nathan Lane's played my part. Robin
Okay.
Williams has played my part. Ian McKellen has played my part. Bert Lars played my part.
Wow.
What makes the Hottentot so hot?
I think Bill Owen has played Lucky.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And he's played Vladimir too.
Okay.
Yeah, and the people tend to, becomes a touchstone, and I was actually talking to a buddy of mine who's directing a children's show up at my college, and he's been Go-Go in one production, and he was lucky. His first theater production was As Lucky, which is so mind-boggling, when he was in college, and he says this play keeps visiting him. So I'm excited to come back and see this show because it comes to me at times in my life, so there's some kind of constant, like I said before, like a touchstone about this piece. This is one of those pieces that I would say is one of the 5 pieces when someone says they know anything about theater. You might say Romeo and Juliet, you might say Waiting for Godot, you might say Death of a Salesman. This is one of those seminal pieces, and I don't know that Beckett ever, when you write these kind of things, I don't think you write them expecting them to survive for 80, 90 years, however long it's
Yeah.
been,
Yep.
So, yeah.
What's my other question? Do you know if there has ever been a female cast?
No.
It's not allowed.
It's not allowed.
There has been.
There
Okay.
has been.
There has been. Oh,
It was
But-
shut down.
It was without permission.
okay. And why, may I ask, is
Oh, there are long, complicated articles about mixing genders and mixing races, and the playwright simply did not want that and refused to allow it, and his agency, his estate, still does not permit it. Now, he says what you do in college with your students, that's another matter. I'm not going to get involved with that, but basically professional productions, no.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And there are complicated reasons for that sort of restricted gender and race look at the play, that's for sure, and I don't know if they're valid or not, but
Right.
nevertheless.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my college, but due to a copyright fluke, and it was a student-directed piece, so it was already kind of hands-off, like you do what you do. She couldn't get the piece that she wanted, and so she'd already had this cast in place, and we'd cast the other shows for that semester, so she chose Godot. So we had a male Pazzo, and the rest of the characters were female, and that changed greatly how the dynamic between Pazzo and Lucky. And again, as an educational theater project, like you said, and it was like 2 nights, it was one of these things where, it was an interesting exercise, but
Wow.
it was, they were just sort of gobsmacked by all the language and all the, I mean, and I am too, still. So
Yeah.
there's some things where, like, this is what this is, yeah.
I definitely understand that. Okay, I have one last question that I'd like to ask all of you. If you could make your audience understand anything from the show, what would it be? And I'd like to ask each of you that.
That there's no right or wrong.
Did you take his answer?
Try to find compassion. Kindness.
Kindness.
You can't bear it any longer.
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
Don't give too much attention to people that say you're fucking things up. I mean, you're
Messing things
can
up.
I say that? No. Well, I said
You
it.
said
Yeah,
it.
he said it.
You said it.
Maybe something about how that the characters are knitted together in some way. That like
You're messing that up.
Go-Go's struggle is Dee Dee's struggle, and that like both of their salvation or future is, and same with us, that they're like these
Units.
Units,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Well,
Eunuchs. They're eunuchs. Thank you so much for allowing me to throw questions at your faces.
Thank you, Karen.
And we're very, very much looking forward to seeing the play.
excellent.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.